Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Motor Mouth, brought to you by the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. I'm Kendra and this is Dan.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
So here on Motor Mouth, we want to take a really deep look at some of the cool vehicles that are here on display. We're standing by a 1924 Walker electric. Yes, an electric. So, Dan, what can you tell us about this kind of monster of a vehicle?
Yeah,
That
it is a monster,
it's
yeah.
dwarfing
And,
us.
you know, and I was saying before the show to our camera guy here, I was saying, you know, we have a lot of visitors come in and they don't really have any idea about the old electrics. And, you know, in our normal flow, they'll go past the electric cars and say, wow, look at these. And I'm explaining about, says, you think that's something, wait till you see our electric trucks. Because we got this one and then we have our CT electric, which is even bigger. Than this and slower and monstrous and stuff. So yeah, people are very surprised when they see this. So anyway, as Kendra says, the 1924 Walker, all electric, and the battery, this red box in behind us, that's where all the batteries would be, and they're kind of all the way across and stuff. The controls for the electric would be underneath the seat. So you can climb up there, you kind of lift the seat up, and there's some controls there. You know, you didn't have to go under the seat to operate them.
Well, I was going to say, not
but
while
they
you're
were
driving,
just
I
there.
hope.
And to climb up there is a chore.
Yeah,
I did it once.
Actually.
I climbed up there, and it's just because it's up there.
No, I have shorter legs than you. I had trouble getting up there.
And you're much younger than me too. So, anyway, so we're going to talk about this, and this truck had something called the balance drive, and we're going to be talking about that. And but a little more information here is. This is an advertisement from the Walker Company. It says the fine reputation of the Walker Electric showing 25 to 50% lower upkeep and operating costs, remarkable dependability, simplicity, low insurance, year-round service is known to be unsurpassed by any other power unit on city routes. So there we go. It was easier to operate and stuff, and you know, cheaper and so on and so forth. And being this is 1924, you might, I don't know if the argument about this being better than horses was still in vogue back then.
It probably was a bit.
You had some horses.
I like the low insurance.
Low insurance,
for 1924.
Yes. So anyway, this is formerly used by the Thomas A. Edison Industries, as you can see in the door there, out of Orange, New Jersey. Some things about Thomas Edison, we all are familiar with him. Are you familiar with him?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit.
Yeah, a lot. Come on, everybody is a lot. He invented everything. He invented the country, okay? Anyway, he wasn't just an inventor, but he was a businessman who had a whole industrial empire. So he was building a lot of this stuff, and he had factories. And let's see, thousands of employees. So they mass produced his inventions. So you had to have a factory, and that's where this was operating. This truck did not operate on the streets. Maybe it did, but it was designed to operate within the factory, pulling railroad cars. And on the back, there is a coupling like you see on a railroad car. And no, it didn't pull railroad cars like from New Jersey to Allentown, Pennsylvania, but you know, you got a rail yard, and I guess something would have to be moved 50 feet or something, and you know, that's how they did it.
Maybe like to the loading dock or something, maybe back onto the... So
in 1918, okay, which would have been 6 years before this truck, to give you an idea how big this factory was, 10,000 workers was at this factory. That's a lot of people, big place there, okay? So they were using this truck, making all these products, moving things around. This truck was good for moving 20 tons. So, And it was also reported to be used for 33 years. So that would have been 1957.
Wow.
Right? Did my math go good?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
Math in the head is hard.
Math, well, that's simple though. You didn't have to carry anything over, you know, that's where it
Sure.
gets
Oh
hard.
yeah, carry cross out.
Yeah, okay. So you're looking at advertisement there about the Walker Balance Drive. It says it's the heart of the Walker electric truck. And to read some stuff on it, it says the hollow rear axle housing, the hollow rear axle, comma, housing one electric motor and one differential directly connected to the hollow armature shaft. Two drive shafts extend from the differential to the center of each hollow rear wheel with the pinion in the wheel and in the wheel end of each shaft. Two idler gears mounted on axle yoke and each rear wheel mesh with pinion on drive shaft and mesh with rim gear inside the permanent wheel band. That's a lot. That's kind of, well, I don't know. It's, sort of. Okay, so basically what it is back here, instead, you'd think if you can picture a drive shaft coming from a motor of your car or a truck or whatever, and it comes, you'd have the motor in the front and you have a drive shaft coming back here and have a differential back here, which then drives the two axles or drives the axles driving the rear wheels. Not this. The motor is right here. It is part of the rear axle. Okay, so it is powered and you have the electrical cords here. You got one hookup for forward, one for reverse, and basically you're up in there and you just change the switch and it changes it from one set of cables to the other, kind of reversing the polarity of the motor, so on and so forth. Okay, so from that motor, you have your axle coming out to the wheel. And then inside this wheel, you look at that wheel, and it's like, okay, it's a big solid honking disc. Actually, it's hollow. And inside, and you'll see the patent drawing from that. You see it has the axle coming in, and it has other smaller gears in here. And then there's a big ring gear inside of this, and that's what drives this whole monster around. Okay, so again, it's a slow truck. It's not designed, you don't want to be hauling a railroad car full of Edison phonographs at 100 miles an hour around the factory.
This is true.
Yeah, so.
Can you imagine stopping that if you're going that fast?
Yeah, So anyway, so you got front and rear wheels are all disc type, as you can see.
I was going to say the front's a big disc too. Is
yes,
that
but
the same?
No, that's just a regular disc. Whereas this in the back, I guess you could say, is a double disc, and there's stuff inside of it.
Okay.
So
cool.
In fact, here I'll let you look. There's what's inside of it. Okay.
Wow.
So the wheel gauge is 62 inches. We discussed the whole wheel gauge, the track of vehicles, 62 versus 56 inches. Remember the Southern tread that we talked about? Yeah.
Yes.
So this is 62, which was kind of the standard, especially up north in New Jersey. What else do we have here? The steering wheel is on the left side, could be operated from the right-hand side. So the wheelbase on these was to suit length of body, back of seat. So it almost sounded like you could get these custom made for the wheelbase, front to rear, depending on what your use is. So I don't know if this was built to haul railroad cars. I don't know if this was built and had something up on top here. Now, fortunately for us in the museum, it doesn't have anything, because if somebody's wandering around, I could say, hey, let me show you.
Look at this.
Yeah, because you can see everything. You can see the braking mechanism for the rear wheels. You can see everything is right here. So there you go, viewers. Make sure you come and look at that. So let me tell you something about the Walker Vehicle Company, okay? From its inception, this is from one of their advertisements, since its inception has insisted consistently that quality, long life, superior performance, and lowest eventual cost must never be sacrificed for low first cost. So that lowest eventual cost goes back to what I said in the beginning about the insurance and so on and so forth, all that. So anyway, 1906, the Automotive Maintenance and Manufacturing Company, started in Chicago, Illinois, began building electric vehicles, used the name Walker Balance Gear. Early design included an electric motor for each rear wheel, similar to our CT design.
Yes.
Okay, that was the early in 1906.
CT is the other big truck we were mentioning
Yes,
earlier.
yes.
That has a motor at each wheel.
The 1912, the company reorganized, changed its name to the Walker Vehicle Company, and they were making vehicles between half-ton through 5 tons. And we've had some Walkers here. So Jay Christ has his Walker. He had a gas electric vehicle here on display last summer from, I think that was 1933.
He had a Thorn, but they're
Oh,
similar.
that was a Thorn, that's
But
right.
he has a Walker that was
Yeah, he has a
similar
Walker
idea.
gas electric from that era, the Dynamotive. I'm
Yes.
glad you said that. And then he has another one, I think it's 1919, the potato chip truck, which is fabulous, okay? But anyway.
If you're local to the area, you might see him at a truck show
Yep.
or car show, something with those pieces.
Okay, through the 20s, Walker trucks continue to be built, the only major change being the availability of pneumatic tires. Ooh. These tires are not pneumatic. You look at them, they're all dug up and stuff, and they're like solid. You know, there's no give to them at all. No. And it's interesting because you look at advertisements from back in this era, and they're talking about solid tires, and they're talking about cushion tires. So I guess they're a cushion as opposed to something if you had a steel rim tire, okay? So these would give a little bit. Now, you figure these tires are 98 years old. So rubber hardens, and these are as hard as you can get. Okay, so I'm thinking if we drove this thing any distance over regular roads, even slow, they'd probably all chunk up and probably come apart pretty quickly. Let's see, in 1929, they developed the Model 10 Special, similar in appearance to contemporary gasoline-powered trucks. So, you know, I see that with other vehicles. I know Stanley Steamer always had a distinct look to their cars back, but in the 20s, they wanted to look more like normal cars, so they would sell more just for the looks. And although they were still steam, they looked like gasoline-powered cars with a radiator, and I assume that's what they were doing with these. Okay, 1938. Introduced the Dynamotive truck, which was a gas-electric hybrid, like what Jay has. 1942 was the end of sales of the hybrid and fully electric trucks. So that was it. They ended in 1942. And so let's see, they lasted from 1906 to 42. What is that? 36. They lasted 36 years. So
they didn't even build anything for the war effort, or it looks.
Not that I
like
know of. Not that I know of. Yeah,
Huh.
and we're probably going to get thousands of callers now and says, you know what, they did build this and that for the war.
Okay, then we can talk about that later.
Yeah, we can.
Point us in the direction of.
So you visitors have to come, or your viewers have to come and visit the museum to look at this. And I think a lot of people look at this, it's like, oh, it's this big old ugly truck, because it is not pristine. You know, I'm looking at right behind Kendra, this green paint is peeled off in a lot of places. The front fender, and I only can imagine there's a hole in it. I mean, the metal is just gouged out.
What
and
happened?
I'm thinking,
We don't know.
you know, it's very interesting. We do not have any batteries in here. It's empty, but you know, there's no reason to keep batteries in here. But you look at this, and yeah, it's a big old ugly truck, and it's worn out and everything else. But I think that's part of the uniqueness of it, and it's a story behind it. Charmed, yes, charmed. Wasn't that a TV show?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay.
Charms with a D, like past tense, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, it's charm.
so anyway, that's the story of our Walker truck.
It's interesting too, and you said about that it was slow, because I know we always, at least with the CT, I always tell people, which is the other big electric, it was slow, but it was powerful.
Yes, a lot of torque.
Yeah, that was really, and that was used for decades as well. You said this one was used for 30 some years.
Yeah.
That one was too. So they were long lasting. No wonder they look like they do.
Yeah.
They worked for a living.
Yeah.
So.
And and they were, you figure people in factories were using these things. So it wasn't their own vehicles.
Right.
Oh, gee, I just banged the door
Like
into
a forklift.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just there to move stuff from point A to point B, and you're not on the open road.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about other.
I spilled a quarter paint on the floor.
Oh,
Who
well,
cares? Yeah.
driver. I wonder though,
not
there's
my
a
truck.
41 on the door, which I assume means it was in a fleet, maybe.
Could have been. Could have been.
Can you imagine?
Unless there was just 41 vehicles of all types. So
True.
I don't know.
Can you imagine 41 of these things
Yeah.
buzzing around a?
I don't think they buzzed. I don't think that's the right word.
What is the right word?
I don't know.
Dawdling.
Dawdling, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a neat truck, so you definitely need to see it in person. It's pretty neat.
And and inside the cushion's all ratty
Oh,
and
yeah.
looking and uncomfortable, but you figure
Not the most
it
attractive.
was a work truck,
There you go.
That was it.
Yeah, that probably got reupholstered a couple times.
Well,
Or
well, you look
a
at it.
blanket thrown over it or something.
Well, you look at it. I think somebody just took cushions from something else and threw them up
yeah,
there. And so it wears out. You take.
the old ratty,
Yeah.
like gossip chair cushion from your front parlor, throw it in there.
Gossip chair.
Yeah, did you ever see those?
I might have. I've never heard that term before.
Telephone table.
Telephone table.
Yeah, it's like a chair, and then it's got an attached little like end table. I'll find a way to work one into a show
Yeah.
sometime.
we never had fancy furniture like that.
I look at it and want it, but I'm not a fancy person.
okay.
So, yeah, I'm not fancy. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. Please come to the museum, see our beautiful, he is beautiful, Walker. And until then, we will see you next time here on Motor Mouth. Thank you.